Chapter 9. Arteomancy. Tom lifts his hand off the alarm clock, still sensing the perfume from the paper Lullaby gave him. Funny how those sensations linger from over there. Without rushing, he goes down to the kitchen where breakfast is already set on the table. Hunger quickly pushes away any lingering thoughts about himself, leaving no chance for them to resurface. Yoda circles his mother's legs, trying to beg for some food, something that rarely happens. Both the dog getting food and being this active this early are unusual. "Hi, son? Still rocking that different hairstyle?" She smiles as she sees Tom. This time, Yoda scores a slice of bread. The dog snatches the treat with all his might and rushes wagging his tailless rear to his bed. "I didn't change my hair, it's the same as always." He sits down and starts preparing his coffee. "No, it looks different." "Doesn't it, dear?" Tom's father enters the kitchen already dressed to leave. He looks at his son and before saying anything messes up the boy's hair. "Now it looks like it always does," he chuckles softly, knowing he just teased his wife. He then sits at the table for breakfast. "You two, I swear." Tom's mother joins them at the table next to her husband. Tom's in no hurry to finish eating. He had woken up a little earlier than usual, so there's no reason to rush. After finishing his coffee, he plays a bit with Yoda, and then heads out to school. The boy still lets out a few yawns along the way. He's not sleepy, but he wouldn't say he's well rested either. As he approaches the spot where he usually meets Rafa, something in the air feels different. Just a strange impression, but it makes him stop and look around. Everything is blurry. The street, the posts, the houses, as if he's wearing prescription glasses without needing them. Like a camera regaining its focus, the surroundings snap back into clarity. But he's no longer on the road to school. He's back on the street with the mansions. Needless to say, this is a problem. Tomas is sure he's in trouble, and he also knows this won't be like last time. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's the mage whispering in his mind. His heart races. He needs to get out of there. The best option is to enter a house and try escaping through the couch. However, before he takes the first step, he remembers what his friends said. Tom didn't actually disappear when travelling through space, so that probably won't work this time. He doesn't have much time to figure out an escape plan. Soon he sees the shadow of a giant feline on the fake asphalt of the street. The creature is on top of a house's roof just ahead, and to his right. With a quick leap, the shantanyn jumps to the middle of the street, a few meters away from Tom. The beast is massive, the size of a sedan. Its body resembles that of a large, muscular feline, black and grey-striped. Its tail stretches more than twice the length of its body, and from its tip, several hand-like shapes emerge from the fur and writhe in the air before dissolving into smoke. What truly terrifies Tomas now is the creature's face. The shantanyn's face looks like a fusion between a cat's and a person's. Not necessarily human, a bizarre anthropomorphism, but not grotesque. The monster shows no aggressive expression or posture, but this passivity doesn't ease Tom's certainty that it will attack at any moment. Its lack of concern is only because it doesn't see Tom as a threat, only as breakfast. If he does nothing, he'll die right there. The mage won't come to save him this time. After all, he's conscious, and since he had passed out the other times, he assumes unconsciousness is a prerequisite. Just a guess, but not something to gamble with. The animal keeps staring at him with its feline mannerisms. Tom takes a deep breath and imagines a line connecting them, like the message spell he learned. Ideally, he wouldn't cast any more spells. But that ideal flew out the window the moment he got pulled back into this place. With the image of the link between them crystal clear in his mind, Tom thinks of the worst static noise possible, his grandmother's old TV with no signal, cranked up to max volume, shattering anyone's eardrums nearby. The suffocating sensation of magical energy pressing against his body is welcome this time. He tries to force as much of it through as possible. The result of the spell is immediate. Tom's hand is shredded with several cuts, and the shantanyn leaps back, letting out a cry of pain. The monster's roar is unlike anything a feline would make, distorted, guttural, and a bit human. Realizing the effect, Thomas begins to run in the opposite direction, desperate to find a place to hide. The adrenaline is so intense that he doesn't even notice his bleeding hand. All the mansions look practically the same, massive hedge walls and closed gates. There's not much choice. He'll have to climb, like they did before. When he reaches the top of one of the gates, roughly 330 feet from where the creature stands, he confirms that the spell's effect is wearing off. The giant cat begins to walk toward him, a bit wobbly. As he falls into the garden, he rolls across the grass and runs to the front door. He hopes it opens the same way as before. If not, this is the end. Fortunately, the door offers no resistance, and Tom enters the house. The interior is still mostly empty, with some furniture like tables and shelves scattered near the windows, giving a false impression that the place is lived in. Nothing more. He quickly runs upstairs. As he passes a window, he sees the shantanyn trying to tear down the front gate. The sound of its paws smashing the metal is terrifying, making the hairs on Tom's neck stand on end. The only silver lining is that it hasn't recovered enough to jump yet, like it did before. The second floor is wide open, but there's no couch. There's nothing. A loud crash accompanied by another roar shakes Tom's body. The gate is down. The feline is getting closer. Going back downstairs would be suicide. Maybe he could jump out the far window and try reaching another house. His sneakers make an irritating noise as he starts moving. Not that stealth would help much now. Near the window, a phrase materializes on the floor in front of him. Open 3 times, open 2 times halfway, open with eyes closed, and jump. Apparently, he was wrong. He does have some help from the mage. After all, if he dies, the parasite dies too. That's what he believes. But considering the mage already reincarnated once, maybe doing it a second or third time wouldn't be a problem. Amid the sounds of destruction shaking the house, Tom follows the instructions. He opens the window fully 3 times, then halfway twice. The shantanyn enters the house. The sound of the door crashing to the floor announces its arrival. Heavy, rushing steps make the staircase tremble. Tom won't get another chance. Before opening the window one last time with his eyes closed, Tomas glances back. The beast is charging up the stairs to the second floor, its face seething with rage. The space around him darkens, and from the shadowy veil filling the house, many hands burst out frantically before vanishing like smoke. Tomas closes his eyes, opens the window, and leaps. The fleeing boy sees nothing but feels intense pain. His jump made him dive headfirst into the same dark room of the old shopping mall. His whole body hurts. Not just his face, which took the brunt of the impact. The sound of the house being destroyed doesn't fade with the change in setting. He can still hear it, a nagging mosquito buzz in the background. Still groggy, he gets up and heads toward the door, which isn't completely closed, letting a thin beam of light seep through. It helped him identify where he was as soon as he came to. Tom thinks about pulling out his phone and calling Tiana for a ride to school, if he's even going at all today. Skipping class would bring on so many problems with the excuses that it might be easier to endure the pain during lessons. By going to school, he might find out if he was the only one attacked. His friends could be in danger too. He opens the door. The sounds of the house's destruction grow even louder. Tom is about to shut the door again when he freezes, stunned, staring at a purple light appearing in the middle of the mouldy room. His breathing quickens. He doesn't want to admit it, but he hasn't escaped yet. He's terrified. The purple glow intensifies and 2 shantanyn paws force the door apart, ripping it from the inside out. Tomas doesn't hesitate. He slams the room door shut and bolts through the parking lot. Even from a distance, he can hear the roars and crashes of the building being demolished by the beast, likely squeezing itself through the narrow room. This time, Tom doesn't stop for a peek. Thanks to Car's blessing, he reaches the street still with plenty of breath. As he turns the corner, he sees a bus just pulling away from the stop. Desperate, he yells. The driver, spotting a student running late for school, kindly waits. Tom gets on the bus, scaring the driver because besides having a blood-stained hand, the boy looks like a ghost, so pale and frightened. The man even asks if everything is all right, and Tomas just replies awkwardly that yes, and hides in one of the seats. The bus doesn't stop right next to Tom's school, but close enough for him to walk. There's no guarantee he won't be pulled back into that strange neighborhood, but it's all he can do. Keep moving forward. Sweaty, tired, and still trembling, he arrives at school. The first 3 classes have already passed. Best to wait for the break and at least attend the rest. Starting to calm down, he heads to the nearest bathroom by the courtyard to wipe the sweat from his face and wash his hand. The cuts caused by the magic are already healing, which isn't normal. His injuries have been healing unusually fast. Could that be part of the blessing too? Cleaner and more presentable, Tom buys a snack at the cafeteria and sits on his usual bench. He can finally relax. He bites into his meat pastry. It's almost tasteless. Tom sighs, discouraged, and thinks he shouldn't have wasted his last trip to the other world just wandering around. If he'd learned more spells, maybe he could have fought the shantanyn. But now it's too late. He needs to prepare. Luckily, not all was lost. Meeting those 2 Zerurians on the train earned him an address. Snack devoured and trash in the bin. It wasn't tasty at all, but he had to eat. Now all that's left is to rest there, waiting for his friends. He had never had a near-death experience before. But now, after almost being devoured, he finally understands why people appreciate peaceful moments in life. Just sitting on a bench, feeling a pleasant breeze, thinking of nothing. Tomas nearly dozes off but is awakened by the bell. Soon the courtyard is full of students scrambling for food. Rafa is surprised to see him there. In his mind, his friend was home with a cold. Susie, who had been spending breaks with them lately, arrives at nearly the same time. She hadn't noticed he missed the first classes, just assumed he was late or something. Which wasn't exactly wrong. After greeting them, Tom explains what happened, his encounter with the shantanyn and how he managed to escape. Both of them listen intently, a bit tense at the account. So, you ran into the same thing that chased us before? But how do you know it's called a shantanyn? Susie asks. Tom realizes he hadn't mentioned his second visit to the other world, so he quickly recaps his conversation with the spirit of Car. He also talks about the walk he took, but leaves out the corpse discovery and his time on the train. So, they're like demons, those creatures. At least they seem killable, Rafa says, wondering if he'd be able to face something like that. Maybe with a weapon, but barehanded? No chance. I think they can be killed, yes. I just don't know how, Tom chuckles awkwardly. When I faced that thing a while ago, I didn't see any way to beat it. I only got away because the mage probably helped me. Are you sure? Last time you were unconscious or in some sort of trance? Susie questions. Tom had considered that too. Yeah, I was, but who else would have helped me? I don't think anyone, Susie says. Aren't you guys going to become the same person eventually? Like, it doesn't mean he's going to erase you. Maybe your memories are merging, and now you're remembering things he already knows. Whoa! Rafa exclaims, putting his hands on his head and pacing in circles. You went too far with that one. That's nonsense. We don't even know what's real or not from what that guy told him. He points to Tom. Better than having no theory at all, Susie retorts, crossing her arms. The bell for the next class rings, and the 3 head back inside. Rafa and Tom go into the art room, where Professor Root has already arranged the easels the students will use. The 2 sit in their usual corner, and little by little more students arrive. Mandy is one of the last to enter the room. She and her friends walk in under the stern gaze of the teacher, who nearly scolds them for being late. Class, today you'll be using the vanishing point guides I left on your easels. You'll be drawing a landscape, and you're free to do whatever you want. So for heaven's sake, use some imagination and do something fun, something different. She sighs at the end of her instructions. The sound of students grabbing materials in near synchrony fills the room, pencils clattering, zippers being opened, erasers dropping to the floor. A symphony of destruction. quite different from the secret room being destroyed earlier. Tom spends some time thinking about what to draw. It would be easy to just sketch some houses along a road and be done, meeting the assignment's basic requirements. But that's exactly what the teacher asked them not to do. As he digs through his mind for ideas, he remembers the view of Bushkar, just before his talk with Trat. The city stretching to the horizon, with Jantir covering much of the blue sky. That strange yet pleasing architecture. He recalls it as if etched into his memory. He was never a great artist, but he could manage landscapes. And now, with Car's blessing still flowing, everything seems to go right. The drawing takes form effortlessly. Rafa wasn't good at art classes, so he went with the basics. A row of houses on a straight street, plain and not very creative. However, midway through the drawing, he notices that it's not quite what he intended. Sure, it's a straight road with houses, but not just any road. Raphael ends up sketching the street with the mansions, the one they'd been transported to. Mandy had successfully pushed thoughts of her ex from her mind. She hadn't even noticed he missed the earlier classes. Tom didn't matter anymore, or so she thought, until she saw him in the room. This wasn't the same Tomas as before. Her head spins, her thoughts blend into a mental blender. She can't recognize her feelings. Her pale hand grips the pencil tightly. Mandy uses the drawing to distract herself, though she can't help but glance at her ex from time to time. In one of these glances, she notices bruises and cuts on Tomas's arm. He's not the kind of guy to get into fights, which only adds to the mystery of what's happening. Mandy doesn't want to think about it. Having him close makes her giddy, just like when she offered him help the day before. It's not normal, but she can't resist. There's a glow in him now, a fire she wants for herself. Back when they dated, Tom was just filling the void left by the older guy who dumped her, and it only lasted as long as it did because she was too lazy to break up. Professor Root walks around the room every 10 minutes to check the drawings and see if any deserve praise, or if anyone needs a scolding for not taking the task seriously. The first time she passes by Rafa's unfinished piece, she prepares for a lecture, but the drawing evolves and gives off a mysterious air the teacher can't quite explain. The road lined with endless mansions feels strange, and she ends up complimenting the redhead's effort. Tom manages to bring Bushkar to the page. Root is curious where he got the inspiration. In her mind, the city must be from a game or an animated show. Thomas had never shown much creativity in class, aside from his castles. So those were her most likely guesses, and she wasn't entirely wrong. What surprises her is the precision and detail. Mandy, almost unconsciously, draws the abandoned parking lot of the old shopping mall. Maybe she thought the vanishing point lines would work well for the parking spots. It wasn't too hard to draw, and she was quite talented. The teacher likes the result but doesn't say anything, still annoyed about Mandy's near tardiness. When Tom finishes, he shows Rafa the illustration. His friend just shrugs as if to say, "So what?" which leaves Tom a little irritated. "This is the city. That's where I went the past 2 nights," he explains. He doesn't want to brag, but the drawing turned out good. I see. Is it really that big, and why are they flying kites? I'm not sure. I haven't seen those kites up close yet. I don't even know if they are kites, just saw them from afar. Check mine out. Rafa shows Tom his own drawing with a grin. He didn't mean to mock the friend who nearly died in that place recently, but that's kind of what happened. Seriously, dude, are you making fun of me? That was real? I could have died. I didn't mean to joke about it. It just came out this way. I didn't have a choice. It's just a straight road with houses. It was the easiest thing I could think of, he explains. Yeah, right. And what's with that cat? In one corner of the drawing, on one of the rooftops, there's a small black cat. Rafa turns the sheet back around. He doesn't remember drawing a cat. But there it is, staring back at the boy. Damn, he mutters. He knows he can't speak loudly or he'll get scolded. I don't remember doing that. Must have been automatic. Sure, Tom replies, annoyed but already letting it go. I mean it. Rafa puts his hand on his head. He's certain he didn't draw that. Okay. Whatever, let's hand our stuff to the teacher and get to the next class. Mandy leaves her drawing on the desk, just before Tom and Rafa. The two boys notice that she drew the parking lot of the abandoned mall they had visited. The illustration is very well done. There's no mistaking it. The place isn't exactly a mystery. It had been part of the city for a long time, so it could just be a coincidence. And maybe that's all it was. Except Tomas notices something. Near the gate, there's a black cat drawn, almost identical to the one Rafa drew. For now, he decides not to say anything, but he feels that can't be a good sign. The rest of the class passes without any major events. Tom doesn't believe he's in danger at school, so he takes the time to relax and try not to worry. At home, the boy catches up on all his schoolwork, something he hadn't done all week. He needs to finish some assignments and study. Thanks to Car's blessing, he manages to get everything done before dinner is served. Focusing on school helps, because for the first time in a while he has a normal night at home without thinking about magic or anything like that. It's close to 10 o'clock when Tomas gets ready for bed. He still isn't sure if he'll see the mage again or if he'll have another day in Zara. Tom is so tired that he passes out the moment his head hits the pillow. It feels like he lay down on wood instead, because he immediately notices his face pressed against the table where he talks to the mage. The place looks the same. The smell of the wood is different from Earth's, but just as pleasant. The soft breeze, the scent of the fields, everything gives a sense of peace that doesn't reflect in his conversations with the idiot who shares his face. This time, the other Tom doesn't come from the house. He comes from the road beyond the gate. "Hello, Thomas. Good to see you alive," he says with a smile as he sits at the table. His clothes are even more ridiculous than before. The wizard hat he wears now looks more like a sombrero. It's so big. Tomas tries to ignore his questionable fashion choices to thank him for the help during the escape. "Yeah, barely. Thanks for the help." "But I didn't help you," the mage says. Tom looks a little surprised, so he goes on to clarify. "That escape was all you. Sure, your brain pulled an escape spell from deep down, but I didn't do anything. Like Susie said, we're slowly becoming one. You'll have all my knowledge." He smiles as he drinks from something that just appeared in his hand. Thomas had actually thought Susie's suggestion was kind of silly. It didn't seem right. But now it's exactly what the mage is claiming. Is that just a convenient excuse to explain what happened? Either way, he's glad he made good use of the little knowledge he has to get rid of that creature. "It shouldn't bother you for a while," the mage says, "but you haven't gotten rid of it yet. Use these days to get stronger." "Right, I'll try," Tom says. He had figured he wasn't free of the shantanyn yet, but hearing confirmation doesn't make it any easier. "We still have some time before your consciousness arrives in the golem in Zara. Want to ask me something? Learn anything?" The mage sips again from his mug. Tom is curious about the contents, but doesn't ask. "That palace I saw in space, what exactly is it?" Now that was a more relevant question than the mage's drinking habits. "Oh, so you saw it. I wasn't sure what had passed through your mind at that moment." He takes a long gulp. "That place is like my fortress of solitude, you know, like Superman's." "Right." Tom is unsure how someone from another dimension, or wherever this guy is from, could make that kind of reference. "In one of the worlds I lived in, mages, sorcerers, and the like were being hunted. So there came a time when I had to run. But it wasn't time to move to another plane yet, so I took my palace to a place where no one could find me." "And did it work?" "Running off into space, that must have been incredible." Yes and no. The problem with opposing the gods is that they're divine. So things don't work the same way. Eventually, they isolated me and I couldn't return to the planet. Now my palace is just drifting through space. Maybe you'll find it again someday." "Is that possible? Isn't it in another dimension? Floating through space?" "Tom, magic governs the impossible." Tomas can't respond. A bright light floods his vision, and when he comes to, he's already in Zara, thrown to the ground in front of the spirit of Car.